Alright guys, I wanted to explain something on this. Down on this 3116 and this Challenger. I think I might have stated in the description it was hydroed. It was hydrolocked, but let me explain exactly what happened, because everybody's telling me to check for bent rods. This was not running when it hydrolocked. What had happened is the operator basically ran it out of water. There's a leak somewhere, and we're probably going to find that once we get it running again. But basically he ran it out of water, and then he shut it off, and when the mechanic showed up, he put water in it. And what had happened is he got so hot he'd already blown the head gasket. The water circulated through the block and then came across from the water jacket in a number 6 cylinder, then it hydrolocked it. And so what happened, the mechanic filled it full of water, he got in it and went to start it and went brrr, and he said, "That's it." And that's when they hauled it to me. So I've already ran these up to top dead center. Let's go to number 6. Let me get my little light on my hat here so you can maybe see. No, let me. That's where I can grab the screen. We'll go. There's number 6. We'll go to top dead center. So there we're at top dead center on number 6. Uh-oh, my Rode video mic is stuck down where the... Wow, how did it do that? That's interesting. Anyway, the mic fell down in the hole there and does not want to come out. So, as you can see here, there's no bent rod in it. You can definitely tell that this number 6 piston got quite a bit hotter than number 1. Let's see here. I'm going to hone it out with the pistons in there. I've done it before. We're going to take a ball hone and go down there as far as we can and clean the holes out. I want to get this bicarbonate off the cylinder walls from the water that it was burning. I mean, on the head gasket kit here, we've got valve stem seals, and I'm pretty kind of a stickler about that. I think if the customer bought them, that you need to do them. You got the head off on the bench, might as well. I've already straight edged it. I got a straight piece of angle iron, and I took across the length of it and widthwise, and it was straight. There was no gap. It's not warped. We're going to pop number 6 valve out of there first, of course, and make sure that it didn't go so hot that one of these seats might be cracked underneath it. That's where we could get in trouble too. I didn't see anything here. This is usually where they'll crack when they get really hot. They'll crack across from the water jacket here, where the thin part of the head is here, to the valve and valve seat here. So, anyways, let me get my ducks in a row here. First thing I'm going to start doing, I guess, is start cleaning up the block deck surface, and I'm going to go ahead and hone these with a ball hone and see how everything turns out there. Some guys like to use a brake. I'm not a real big fan on engines with cylinders on an engine with a 3-paddle brake hone. I don't really like them too much. A ball hone does a much better job as far as I'm concerned. They always have for me, but usually a WD-40 or any kind of thin penetrating oil on them. Oh, and this is the bad thing about a cordless drill. This is what I always run into with these. The chucks just don't grab. They don't grab very good sometimes. And a guy, I've heard people say, "Oh, you don't want to take too much off of that ball hone." I'm just going to tell you that you'd have to really go in there a whole lot if you think you were really substantially going to affect the cylinder walls with a ball hone with a cordless drill. take you a clean rag there, and we'll have to blow the hole out too real good. I see that cylinder cleaned up really nice. I think we're gonna be all right. I mean, you have no idea what the piston looks like. I mean, I don't really see any evidence looking at the cylinder wall. You know, it's scuffed a little bit here on this one side. It's a gamble. It really is. I mean, it's a gamble when you do this. Yeah, there's a little bit of scuffing here on this one side. I can't feel it with my fingernail at all, though. I mean, you can see it, but you can't feel it. So I'll do number 1 cylinder as well. What it is to penetrating oil. You ever get scatterbrained? Sometimes I'm really scatterbrained sometimes. I need to get the little Cummins there, and I need to get it torn down. And I had a comment there earlier, and I wasn't really trying to. I really wasn't trying to be mean to the guy. I hope I didn't run him off, but sometimes I come across that way, I guess. But he had mentioned that I was losing, or all my money was on the floor because I had a lot of unfinished projects, and I should finish projects. And I wasn't really trying to come off as a jerk. I just basically, it's different when you're on your own. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, like this, the head gasket is Saturday. The head gasket kit didn't show up till Thursday afternoon, so technically, it's been waiting a day for me to work on it, really. So this isn't too bad, but this pickup over here, it's been waiting. It's been there for a couple weeks. I understand that. And I tell my customers, look, I may get to, especially the pickup things, when there's a piece of equipment like this sitting here, or the water truck. The water truck was kind of a priority, get it done. I mean, I've got to go get the 8100 and fix my screw up there. I mean, there's things like that I have to get done. Some of this other stuff gets put on the back burner, and I'm usually pretty upfront, if I can remember, if I'm not so scatterbrained, to tell my customers, hey, look, here's the deal. You know, and I do. I've got excellent customers. They're very patient with me. As long as you're upfront and honest about your time frame and how busy you are, and you just don't lie to them. Don't say, well, that's the problem I have with some. I'll tell you a story. I had a 4440 John Deere for a customer. I was rebuilding one time, and we did have an in-frame on it, and I wanted the injection pump. The owner actually wanted the injection pump gone through and rebuilt. We took it to a injection pump shop, and not going to name any names, but they basically, long story short, they had it for like over a month and kept leading me on and telling me they'd done stuff that they hadn't done. Said they'd started tearing it apart and they were waiting on parts. Well, another couple weeks went by, and pretty soon they had the caller ID and they weren't answering my phone call. And I'd already had the engine in framed. I was waiting for the pump. It was springtime and needed to start harrowing the fields. So anyways, one of the people that worked there, I told him he was in town. I said, stop by that pump shop there and see if they got that pump, what's going on with it. Well, he called me, the kid that worked at this ranch, and he said, well, there's a greasy pump sitting up here, an inline Bosch pump sitting here on the bench here with the tag still on it of our name. I said, well, that's it. They haven't even touched it. They lied to me and said they did all this stuff and they had it torn apart and bench tested it or whatever, and they hadn't even done anything. They lied to me just to get me off. And I get so busy, I'll just tell people, I haven't done nothing to it. I mean, if you're in that big a hurry, I would recommend, and I tell them, I said, I would recommend that you come get it and get to somebody that can get it done. You know, so that's what I usually do, and most people just leave them here. So, I had a customer. You guys saw that old body style Ford that was in here? Well, that old body style Ford, he had called me before on that, and I straight up told him that I work on a lot of his. You guys have seen, I've done a couple videos in the past. He had a 8300 John Deere that I did some work to. I did a video on. Then he had a 7700 John Deere that I put shift valves, whole front cover on the transmission. Anyways, he's a good customer. Every one of these pistons has got that scuff looking mark there on this side. Every one of them does. Anyway, he had that, his grandson had that old body style Ford, and he said the oil cooler was leaking on it externally. I said, yeah, that's really common. The O-rings get hard and brittle, and they leak, especially in the wintertime. They'll shrink up, you know, in the cold weather, and they'll leak, and once they warm up, they'll quit leaking. Anyways, I didn't have time. I just told him I don't have time to get to it in a timely manner. I said it's going to be weeks, maybe a month before I can get to it. And anyways, he said, okay, I'll take it up to town. So we took it up to town, and this shop up there, they had said they'd resealed the oil cooler, and well, he brought it back to me, and he said that now it's got oil in the water. There was oil in the lots of oil in the radiator. He had noticed that his oil level was going down, and it was getting hot on him one day when he was driving it around. So he brings it back to me. Well, he took it back to them. He took it back to them when he noticed that the oil was in the antifreeze. And he told them, look, there's oil in the water. There wasn't oil in the water when I brought it up here. It just had a leak in oil cooler. Well, then they tell him that the head gasket's bad. They told him the head gasket was bad. Unbelievable. So, anyways, it pissed him off, so he drug it up here. He had it towed to my shop, and it sat here for a long time, and I finally got a chance to look at it, and I pressure test. I took the oil filter off the oil cooler. You guys know what a 7.3 Power Stroke. The oil filter head is part of the oil cooler assembly, and I took that off with his oil, and that's what threw me off when I saw this thing. I've done a lot of those oil coolers on 7.3 Power Strokes. And I've never ever had to change an oil cooler on. The only ones I've changed oil coolers on are ones that I've rebuilt the engines on. The customer wanted a new oil cooler, and I thought it was a good idea anyway. Anyways, so I noticed a brand new oil cooler on the one end, and then the oil filter end of that cap end assembly on the other end of the cooler, that was brand new too. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd. They must have broke it or something, or were rough on it or something when they did this. Anyway, I just took the oil filter off, and I left the antifreeze in the system, whatever water was left in it, and I just put 10 pounds of pressure on it with a pump and old pressure tester. And water started pouring out the oil filter. And I said, either the O-rings were cut or they screwed the cooler up. Well, I pulled it apart, and the O-rings weren't cut. Obviously, the cooler they put in there is no good. So I had a good used cooler that came out of a rebuilt one that I did. I stuck it in there and did the same pressure test, and no water came out of it. So then I spent hours flushing it, and he's been driving it for a couple weeks now. You know, but these people, and that's the thing. These people don't make stuff right. And they always say, well, then they blame it on some other problem. So they would have went up there, and if he would have agreed to the head gasket job, he would have taken it back up there. They would have put another. They probably would have pulled both heads, put head gaskets on. The son of a gun still would have had water and oil, and then they would have. Who knows what they would have done? They still wouldn't have had the problem fixed. But, you know, what I was trying to say to that one guy, that some people have worked for other companies their whole lives, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think if you've got a real good job and you've got seniority and you've worked your way up, I mean, I was going to do that at one time, but to be honest with you, I never could find a good outfit around here to work for that would treat me right. You know, all these guys that would promise me all this stuff that they were going to do for me, and they were going to give you this if you signed on with them, and give you this. Well, they never would follow through with any of it. And I would have done it if I probably could have found somebody decent to work for. But anyways, maybe it's just my charming personality, huh? But you know, before you start criticizing people and telling them how to run a business, it might be a little prudent to you to maybe think a little bit and realize that you haven't had a business, you've worked for somebody else, which is, like I'm saying, there's nothing wrong with it. But you can't go and critique people that have owned a business and telling them how to run a business when you haven't. So So I think this might actually turn out okay. Sometimes, you know, I think about that there's a lot of guys that on YouTube that I see that, you know, that they're almost like politicians to me. That they won't say what's really on their mind because they're afraid that they'll lose subscribers, or that's you know, basically they're going to lose subscribers. And I just can't really bring myself to do that. Seems like to me that if I do that, then I'm acting like something I hate more than anything, and that's a politician. And a politician panders for votes, and I don't want to pander for subscriptions. I don't want to blow smoke up everybody's rear end and not be myself and not tell you what's really on my mind or what I really believe. Get you a little bit closer to the action here. I got one out. I'm laying them on a piece of cardboard in order as they came out. This is going to be the number 1 side, front side of the cylinder head. What I do is I try to cup it and then catch the keepers if they fall off. Sometimes that doesn't work either. You don't want to seem to go everywhere. We're just going to put valve stems. I'm going to pull the valves out, and then I'm going to take the cylinder head, pull the valve stem seals off, and then take the cylinder head outside and pressure wash it off, clean it up, and then we'll inspect it and make sure that the injector cups look okay as far as we can tell with the naked eye. The keeper that's kind of messing with me there a little bit. There it goes. Take those with a solvent tank and clean those up real good. And I probably won't show you all of these, but I want to show you what I do to get, maybe it's not the most scientific method of doing it, but it works for me. Just grab a pair of these Knipex pliers usually and just grab them and pull them off of there. Okay. there's the valve stem seals. Really simple deal to get them off. You know, and if your valve stem guides are worn out, which I mean, 13,000 hours, they probably got wear on them. You know, this probably isn't being done, but it's one of those things where we're trying to make our customer happy, whatever we can do. And now, if this is a guy that I don't know and has a reputation, you'll get some of these guys that have a reputation of doing things and trying to come back on the mechanic. That's one thing that's really good about being in a small area. Everybody knows everybody, and most people know the people not to deal with. You know, so. And these guys have been around here forever, and they're good people. Alright guys, I'll definitely record when we get to number 6, because number 6 was the bad hole. The one that got really hot. That's looking better. Okay. Alright, valve stem seals. See if I can get my little squirter here to pump. Sometimes it can be a little problematic. There she goes. This has actually got ATF in it. I just want to get them wet. I don't like to put them on dry. These go on really easy. I just do them by hand on these 3116s. When you put that valve on there anyway and put that spring against it, it's going to go down anyway. But it's nice to give a little lube on them so maybe you don't tear that rubber inside there pushing it over the valve guide. So I can say that's probably the bare minimum you probably want to check when you do one of these is, well, the biggest thing too on these 3116 mechanicals is the cups. The cups in here. They're kind of set up like a 6-liter Power Stroke where they have the cups in the head. Sorry, not going to go as far as I intended to go with this project today. I was putting the valves back in and springs and keepers, and I got to one there and I noticed the keeper kind of looked funny as it was sitting on the stem, and it was actually like bent and twisted. So I don't know if I did that when I took it off, or was that something that happened on the number 6 hole? I don't know for sure. I've never seen one bent and twisted the way that one's all kind of goofy looking anyway. I sure as heck didn't want to put it on there. I walked around the shop for half an hour looking for keepers from cylinder heads. Everything that I had in the shop, I've got an old 8.1 PowerTech head sitting over there, and the valve stems are way bigger in it. And then I had a head off of the 7.5 liter CNH engine, a New Holland engine, and the valve stems are way bigger in it, and the keepers have 4 notches and grooves in them instead of just this cat head only has 1 notch keeper, where there's only 1 groove in the stem of the valve and one notch in the or I would say protrusion in the keeper. So all these other ones have like 4 notches in them. So anyways, I do have a 3116 cylinder head at my house in Klamath Falls that dropped a valve and ruined the head, but the rest of the valves and keepers should be good to go. So I can't go any further with this today, so I'm going to go rob one of those. We'll probably just take one valve out and just grab both keepers, and we'll bring them back Monday and try to finish this thing up and get it on there and get it running. So anyway, sorry I didn't get as far as I wanted to, but you know how things go. You run into some unforeseen things every now and then that hold up progress. Anyways, thanks for watching.